Macro investing is about living in the future and working back to the present day and trying to assess the probabilities. So what you're looking at always is the knock-on effects. So it's like a decision tree, and you're trying to assess the probabilities of the decision tree, So right now, the world is looking at inflation. So you look forward and say, okay, we have inflation, and that is the narrative. What's going to happen from here? And is the market pricing that? So if you want to price in more inflation, it's kind of in the price. So your probability of making high returns is low. But if you can find a set of circumstances that could come into play where inflation falls or growth falls, well, then you can make a ton of money because you're going against what is priced into markets. So it's this, and then moving further into the future, what is the big picture influences? So it's most people bizarrely in macro are very chart driven because we're very visual, because you have to hold this mental map of how everything fits together. And it's all interconnectedness between, economies, markets, and between markets, and understanding that relationship overlaid with human behavior. So it's macro has always brought a certain type of person. They tend to be very smart in a broad way because it has a unique skill set. It's because it's really hard for some people and really natural for others. It was really natural for me because I was an incredibly visual person, and I was always joining the dots, thinking forward, living in the future. Other people who are very detail driven, now driven, you can be macro, but it's very different. You tend to be more model driven and stuff like that, as opposed to thought driven. I think of it as the world's most beautiful 3 or 4D jigsaw puzzle that you can only solve for brief seconds in time. And when you do, you get rewarded with a positive P&L. When you solve it badly, you lose money. And so that's why everybody loves it. It's being given the world's most beautiful puzzle that is unsolvable. But there was that magic moment when you solve it all. I had that moment outside of crypto. I had that moment in 2020 where I was forecasting a recession based on my stuff. Then obviously the pandemic comes, and I saw everything in clarity of everything I needed to do in advance. And, that moment is what we live for in macro. Crypto has been the best single way to teach myself how to do it because I've got a big picture framework. I've got a long-term risk reward, and I've learned to look at, I've got I've got an hourly chart of Ethereum next to me, and I watch it and I think, oh my God, it's going to roll over. It's going to do, but I disassociate that from my P&L. I don't even look at my P&L. I look at it occasionally when the market's at all-time highs, but I just ignore it because looking at the P&L makes you think, oh my God, I made and lost this much money today. And that becomes an emotional state of fear or euphoria. But if you're just looking at dispassionate price action, it's different. And I haven't always done that. And it's different with crypto because I don't use leverage. So I don't have to obsess over the price. But in macro, you tend to use a lot of leverage otherwise. And then you have to obsess over the price because you're going to get into deep trouble if it goes against you. So again, crypto's really taught me the joys of long-term investing, which I've always been a long-term investor, without leverage in something volatile enough that gives you high returns. And it's amazing.
Now, can you tell us what's in your crypto portfolio? And I'm assuming it's maybe a lot. So maybe your top coins that you're holding, you mentioned Ethereum.
It's fascinating. So my structure of how I built my portfolio is I started with Bitcoin, moved into Ethereum, switched most of my Bitcoin into Ethereum. And then I built a basket of alternatives, and I just took an equally weighted basket of like 10, large cap, because I don't know. I added Solana at some point into that, didn't do anything else, just left it like that. What's fascinating is my second largest holding now from an equally weighted basket, second to Ethereum, Sandbox. I haven't bought any. It just went up 20x in the last month and a half, which is crazy. I mean, I would not have my second largest. I would not take that position, the second largest position in Sandbox, but that's where it is. And I'm not rebalancing for the time being. I'm just letting this phase play out and see where these things go. So yes, it's a mix. And so I've got some DeFi protocols, the usual Aave and whatever, stuff like Uniswap. And then I've got stuff like Polkadot, just all the stuff you'd expect. Nothing interesting. It gets interesting because I put metaverse bets on 6 months ago. Those things exploded, Decentraland and and Sandbox. And I have some social token bets with Chili's and Rally. So those are slightly different because they're more macro thematic bets of what I think future things are. But it's hard now with Sandbox because it's gone up so much. It's like, do I have enough conviction to have my second largest position in this? The best investment I have made is always in the life that I live. So in my lifestyle. People are too orientated by money, and it's actually the quality of life that you live is the goal of everything. My investments in my quality of life, I live in nice houses, I live in a nice place, and I've gone out of my way to solve for that. Like I said, I wanted a tropical beach, so I went and found a way of doing it. I wanted to live in the Mediterranean, and I found a way of doing it. Which is that macro mindset of you kind of make your future. That is my best investment by far because it's the most important thing. And paying off my first mortgage, I bought a second home in Spain. It wasn't very expensive. It was quite a big house, but with my bonus, I bought the house, so it was in cash. And then I know I'd won the game because I could work in a bar, I could lose my job, anything could happen, and I'd be fine. Those kind of investments are the really meaningful ones. Crypto, Ethereum has been my best ever investment from a P&L standpoint by a long way. And I've had some other great trades in my life, and I've had some absolutely terrible ones. My worst investment was not even single investments because I don't really remember them. It's when I, in 2009, overrode my macro framework when my economic indicators were starting to say the recession had bottomed, the worst of the crisis was over. I overrode it with emotion and said, yeah, but we're going to have a double dip. This is always going to be worse. I remained short and I didn't do what my homework was telling me, all of my macro framework. And that was a mistake I didn't make in 2020. I closed out all of those trades that I put on, the short trades, by end of March, April, almost at the lows. Now, I'm not saying I'm a hero for doing it, but I stuck to my framework.
Do you want to know one thing about crypto? I made over 3,000% in profit in a few weeks. Fact is, the traditional financial system, the traditional money system makes you poor, not rich. If you want to earn $500,000, $1 million, you have to wait until you're 50, 60, 70 in the traditional financial system, and you probably will still be broke. And you will be old. This is not a sexy combination, as you can imagine. But the question is, how can you start in crypto and make these profits? Where to invest? Where to start? My name is Gunnar and I'm from Germany, as you can hear, and things are a little bit different in Germany. More about that later on. Fact is, there are lots of different cryptocurrencies. It's a gigantic universe where beginners and professionals get easily lost. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. There are 7 key steps you need to follow to become successful in this market. You have to know them, and if you fail one of them, it's literally impossible to succeed in this market. Just an example, one of the key points is your exchange, and one of the biggest are, for example, Binance and Coinbase. These are trusted and well-established exchanges, but, and this is a big but, you won't find the super profitable coins on those exchanges. The unknown super profitable coins that get gigantic profits are not traded on those kind of exchanges. They are traded on much smaller insider platforms that are barely known. And I can tell you what those super secret exchanges are and why they are so profitable. And another super important thing are the right information sources. The point is, the internet is gigantic. There are hundreds and hundreds of YouTube channels, blogs, pages, and much, much more. And there are also market makers and influencers. For example, Elon Musk, he is not a crypto guy, but the moment he recommended Dogecoin, it went through the roof, to the moon, so to say. But why did he recommend it? Where did he hear it from? He didn't hear it from newspapers. And believe me, he is listening to someone. But you have to know who, and you have to react before he is reacting. This is really, really important. And these are only 2 of the 7 steps you have to follow in order to be successful in crypto. And if you want to know all of these steps in much more detail, and if you want to have a comprehensive checklist, here's what you should do. There is a link below this video. Click on this link and you will get the opportunity to subscribe to my channel. Click on the link and you will see a video where I explain the next steps. So see you soon. Click on the link now. I'll see you there.